This is Hot Mic.
Hot Mic.
On the networks of WDAY.
WDAY.
Here's Dom Izzo.
Welcome back, everybody. Wednesday morning show rolls on. Our next hour is for you college football rubes who love Big Ten football. We got plenty so in this neck of the woods, certainly in our building, I know. We're going to chat the Huskers coming up in about a half hour, but some Gopher football chat to start our second hour. One of our favorite guests to get him on whenever he's a busy man, especially this time of year with the Great Minnesota Get-Together start tomorrow, which means he's locked in there. Justin Gaard from KFAN Radio down in the Twin Cities joins us. Also Minnesota Golden Gophers sideline reporter for football, women's play-by-play for women's basketball. Am I missing any of the other jobs, JG? Is that everything?
Yeah, now you pretty much nailed it. Thanks for reading my bio. Great to be with you. Glad it worked out. Yeah, State Fair starts tomorrow. So,
oh boy,
summer's over. Summer's over. Once the fair hits, it's over down here. So that starts tomorrow. I weighed myself this morning for a pre-fair weigh-in. We'll report back on exactly how much weight I've gained through Labor Day.
I didn't rate program password champion and initials. Should I do that too? I forgot that.
You could, although I'm in a little bit of a drought. You know, people I think are kind of wondering, is it ever going to happen again? I have two very dusty trophies at my desk at the Fan.
Hey, you know what?
A few years ago.
You got them though. That's the most important thing.
They can never take it away from me.
I have to ask. We're going to get the Gophers here in a sec, but up here, the amount of anger, vitriol was readily apparent with what the Twins did. You're in it. You're down there. Is it just as much, even more so? You're on a day-to-day basis down there.
We'll be more specific. Are you talking about selling everybody at the trade deadline that made no sense?
Yeah, right.
Or the ownership saying that they're not going to sell the team after all? Because those are two very different but also very similar in that everybody was angry about both of those. It's been a rough run. You know, and there's been a lot of times too where, like at this point of the season, we're about to start the fair, football's about to start, where the Twins haven't been very good and people just kind of quietly let them go away into the night. And this is a very different summer in that regard, in that they're not going anywhere, but we're still talking about them a lot because the trade deadline was a complete disaster, obviously. And obviously you could talk your way into half of the trades that they made. That's 5, I think. The other 5 made no sense when they did very anti-Twins moves where you're trading away guys with team control and cheap guys and all of that. The ownership one, though, has been tough because all summer people have been saying, well, when the new owners come in, it'll be – and we have no idea who those people would have been, right, if they would have been any better, worse, or indifferent than the poll ads. But the fact that rug kind of got pulled underneath them, I think, has taken Twins fans and Minnesota fans in general to a different level of anger and annoyance, and we'll see where it goes. I actually, Dom, have kind of zagged on it a little bit because – and who knows if I'm just too naive or too romantic about the whole thing, but a lot of times – I had heard that, like, Joe Pohlad of the third-generation Pohlad actually does have interest in owning a team and making it a winner. But there's a lot of other Pohlads in that area that have a voice and have a say. And so my big follow-up would be, well, who are the new minority owners and who are the people that are selling? Because if the people that are selling are the ones that have been holding all of this back, I'm fine giving it a second.
Yep.
Now, again, people have been taking me deep on that for a week and a half, but I'm just thinking, because I can't think of any other reason why Joe wants to own the team other than he thinks he can bring it back in, because they had been losing money. They're not very popular. You know, the poor broadcasters are sitting there listening to people chant sell the team while they're trying to do the live shots. I mean, I'm just thinking about what you guys do at the Fargo Dome, you know, when you sit out the chairs and you're doing the live shots and people would run behind you and say, sell the team. Not easy to do.
Nope.
And you had nothing to do with it. But anyway, so to answer your question, no, things have not really simmered down when it comes to negativity on the Twins.
I would you know, it's not like Mark Laurie and A-Rod when they came in and there was obviously you could feel it with the Wolves. I don't know if how much say, like you're talking about, these new partners would have in the day-to-day baseball operate. Because if that's the case, then I would be right with you. I'd be okay. Let's go if they have more say in the day-to-day baseball operation.
Right, and the problem there is that none of the Pullets have any trust. Like, you have to have some faith to say.
Right.
Because that's just me thinking out loud. Like, I'm willing to see where it goes. If it's business as usual for the next 3 years, then I'm the idiot. I'm stupid. But that's the problem with going at those. They have so little equity with the fan base for what has happened the last couple of decades, really, and certainly the last 2 years when I'm sure you talked about it and saw it. I mean, Rocco Baldelli was in our studio talking about how he couldn't hear himself think when they're beating Toronto to snap the playoff streak and to win the series. And the town was absolutely on fire for Twins baseball. And their response to that was, we're going to cut the payroll, which that's what has led us to this. That was the first big decision that's led us to where they are today, where there's nobody going, nobody's interested, and it's just a lot of anger.
I know you get plenty of kidding about your love for Max Bromer. Is he going to be the Vikings' backup quarterback here in a week and a half?
Well, here's what I'll say. They can't – I don't know how you can't keep him.
Right?
Like, I just because he's so smart. Yeah, I do get a lot of kidding. Kidding is kind, too. Yeah,
it's the best word I can think of right now.
But I always say to people, I say – if you guys saw what I saw on a day-to-day basis, and even just being on the field, watching him during the game, and then how he played, you'd feel the same way. I mean, the guy's a total stud. It's amazing to me. I was thinking about this at training camp. We were after practice one day, and he was just throwing passes to Justin Jefferson after practice. And I'm thinking, this guy was in New Hampshire like 10 minutes ago. And now he's throwing passes to Justin. He's getting extra work in with maybe the best receiver in football. What a whirlwind for him. Backup quarterback, probably not, but I don't know how you keep him in a place where he could be exposed to have somebody take him. It was surprising to me that he wasn't drafted. I think he's one of those guys where you have to, actually be around him every day and see how he works, see his process, see how he does things. But he's played great. And I know that Kevin O'Connell liked him from his first pro day when he wasn't even working out for himself. He was just throwing to Gopher receivers and other regional people, a couple of years ago. But I hope they keep him because I just think he's a great kid. He's just an impressive young man. And I think he can be helpful even in that backup quarterback role wherever he is in the room because he is so smart. And so I'm fascinated to see what they do because, to me, I don't think they have much of a decision to make. I think they have to keep him on the roster.
I was just looking here. We're going to throw it up, the 25 Gopher football schedule. You get to go to some fantastic places this year. Autzen Stadium. You get to go to the Horseshoe, obviously, at Ohio State. I know your favorite in Kinnick. Wrigley Field is on the schedule because that's where Northwestern is going to play its game with Minnesota. That destination-wise, that's pretty – opponent-wise, that's a whole other story. Destination, that's pretty darn cool.
Yeah, I'm excited. I probably said this on your show before, but when people ask me about all the realignment stuff and what do you think about the West Coast teams coming in, I always said, well, I've been to Champaign enough. I've been to West Lafayette. No shade. Even Madison and Iowa City. We've all been there. You Gopher fans have been there a lot, right? It's fun. And, yeah, I'm excited to see Oregon. They play Cal in the non-conference, so that's in a couple of weeks. The Wrigley Field game's obviously going to be awesome. And that's kind of the new world in the Big Ten. You're gonna get to see all these new places. We were at the Rose Bowl last year. I think we'll be at Washington next year, which is cool. Do some sailgating up there. I'm looking forward to it. Now, like you said, Friday night in Oregon, that's no picnic.
No,
that'll be interesting.
No.
That'll be fun. Saturday, I'm guessing at 11 because they always play at 11. Big noon kickoff, Ohio State. That's no picnic, but yeah, it's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it, and I'm curious to see how this team is. And they're breaking in a brand new quarterback, so who knows what's going. I know you know something about that in your parts right now. So it's going to be fun, though. It's cool. I'm looking forward to it.
Are you not looking forward to a 9:30 Central kickoff at Cal? That's not ideal.
No, it's not. And what I'm not looking forward to is how I'm going to do my Gopher show on KFAN at 8 o'clock Central the next morning. I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to do that, how that's actually going to work.
Not great either.
It probably won't work. Yeah. What I learned, because I had that at USC last year, I learned I have to take a nap because about an hour before we were supposed to go to the Rose Bowl, I thought, why didn't I take a nap? Why did I drive around Southern California like a tourist? That was poor planning on my part.
Rookie move there, JG. Rookie move. Mm-hmm. Give us the lowdown. What you've seen out of Drake Lindsay is the guy for the Gophers now in 2025.
Yeah, I can't wait to see him play in a real game. And when people have asked me about what I think about him, I mean, he throws the ball all over the place. He came from a straight air raid offense in high school. And so to me, it was interesting that he would want to come to a place like Minnesota that historically has run the ball a lot. But going back to Bromer, I think we saw a year ago, like they changed their offense a little bit. They were much more throw first last year than they were running the ball. They actually didn't run the ball very well. And I always say now, especially, you don't have to hand the ball over to a redshirt freshman quarterback in Big Ten college football anymore, right? Like, you could just go find somebody. If you weren't comfortable with handing the keys to your program to somebody, you could go find somebody else, right? Iowa's doing that with Gronowski, right, who you guys are very familiar with. Like Gophers did that with Bromer a year ago. You could go find a 22-year-old from a different level or from a Power 5 that has just been waiting for their opportunity or maybe wanted to be a starter. And I think the fact that the Gophers didn't do that and are comfortable handing it over says a lot about Drake. And, we don't get to go to very many practices. I've been to a couple, and as you know, when you go to the practices, they're not exactly going to go, here's what we're going to do. Here's all of our things, right? So, but he put up huge numbers in high school. He was a Gatorade Player of the Year in Arkansas in high school. There's people in Arkansas that are still annoyed that he's not there because he grew up literally, as he told me, he had to walk by the University of Arkansas practice fields basically to get to his own in high school. And so there's a lot of people down there that are still mad that they, for whatever the reason, didn't recruit him. He was injured in high school, then didn't play right away. But I'd say this, they love him. And from my observations, he was literally in the back pocket of Max Bromer last season, trying to soak up everything that he could from him. And we'll see. There's big expectations for him. I'd also remind people he's still a redshirt freshman quarterback. And we just mentioned, how's he going to look in Autzen Stadium Friday night against Oregon or Ohio State? Like, that's a big lift, as the corporate cliche goes. So, but I know they love him, and they obviously put the full court press on to get him to come here, and we'll see how he does.
How Coy Parrish played last year, there was obviously great hype. JG is the number one player in the state of Minnesota. So when Fleck gets him to stay, that's a big story. I know we talked about it when you were on last fall. Then he goes and plays like he did, which is phenomenal. And obviously the big question heading into this year is they're going to use him all over the place. My question is, how do you do that without maybe robbing Peter to pay Paul, like taking away his great play on defense if you want to use him on offense?
That's the $1 million question. You're right. And I was just talking about this on our Parent and Spirit podcast right before I jumped on with you. We were trying to set the over-under on offensive snaps for the season. And I feel like you can give him a series or two each half, right? I don't know if he's going to be a full-time Travis Hunter, just do everything for the entire game. But to me, it makes sense to run him out there at least a series a half, right? That'd put you at 10, 12, 15 plays a game. Let him play defense. He's going to be the return guy as well, because he is just one of those guys. He's just, even at the college level, he just moves different than everybody else. Even somebody like me that doesn't have a great eye for talent, that doesn't know what I'm really looking at, you can tell when there's a guy that's just different than everybody, right? And that's who he is. That's how he is. He's one of those guys that the whole team just kind of they know he's different too. Like, the other players know that he's different. And so they're definitely, like, it's either the biggest, bummerooski ever if they don't find a way to get him to play a bunch of snaps on offense, because they've been very frontal about it. And I do know at the practices we've been to, he's been out there a lot. He has been, like, the split jersey thing is needed because he has been running out there with the offensive stuff. So it's going to be crazy. But I even go back to when he made a tackle on punt return last year before he started playing a lot. Like, the place went nuts, Tom.
Yeah.
And where the announcer just said, tackle made by Coy Parrish, and the place went crazy. That's never happened in, I guess that was the 14 years I've been doing it. That's never happened before. So he's one that everybody notices for sure.
And there's a couple other coming through the high school pipeline that they got as well. That's something I know you've heard forever, and we've talked about it up here, because North Dakota State or South Dakota State has gone in the Twin Cities and got high-profile Twin Cities players. Now PJ's coming up here and getting the best players up here to come to Minnesota. Yeah,
I think you're 100% right. That's what's been different. They've the outstate kids that usually would be slam dunk for the Dakota schools, right? How many have you had over the years where you go, how come no one found this guy? Well, he's from Barnesville and nobody knew to go there. Like, that's not like there is a little bit more of that. Coy obviously being from basically a suburb of Duluth is a deal. Isaac Asama, same deal, the basketball player from Cherry, Minnesota. That kid might be going to St. Cloud State 15 years ago just because there wasn't the exposure, there wasn't the film, there wasn't the ability to get there. And he's done a good job. But he makes a good point. Like, just the fact that he's been here 9 years now, this is like, kids that they were 9 years old when he started. Like, they don't know really a world. They don't have all the scars that generations of Gopher fans have, right? They probably don't remember Marcus Williams in a pick six right before halftime at TCF Bank Stadium. They weren't there for that game, right? But they were there for Penn State 2019.
Yep.
And that
Yep.
matters. Like
Yep.
that makes a difference. Or they at least, even Drake Lindsay talked about that Penn State game, that season was one of the first seasons he really dialed into Gopher football. So, and it's not like they've, you see behind me, I don't have a Rose Bowl banner here. I have an Outback Bowl banner. It's not like they've been going to Rose Bowls and winning national championships, but they've had enough success where it's not the perception, I think, has changed locally for the kids that are now going through, that it is, you can go there. It's a cool place to go, and you can actually make an impact. And having a guy like Coy obviously helps big time in that, because there's 50 people, there's 50 legitimate ESCO people wearing Parrots jerseys every game that he plays. That makes a difference.
Or like we were there a couple years ago when they beat Nebraska to start the season, or last year to win in Madison. Those are the kind of memories now that he's trying to tap into for the high school guys.
Well, I would say I have a lot of family in Wisconsin, and my youngest cousin is probably like 25 years old. Until PJ got here, he did not know a world where the Badgers did not have the axe. Like, that was stunning to him that the axe could actually come to Minnesota. And so, but you're right. And obviously they've got more work to do with the Iowa rivalry, because they've only won. That one's kind of become the new Wisconsin, where they got him a couple of years ago. We all know about that game, but like, they've done a good job of just kind of getting the program on really solid ground, and now it's just in a good, solid spot where, people think an 8-4 season is something to be disappointed about. So we'll see how it goes.
There's a couple North Dakota guys that actually may be in the mix to play. Carter Menz, the defensive end, and Riley Sunram up front from Kindred, one's from West Fargo. I know your practice availability is limited, JG, but are these guys that potentially that they could find their way into the rotation maybe early on in the non-conference season for Minnesota?
Yeah, let me pull up my depth chart here. You see, I'm going through. I've got a lot of different names. The nice thing is, especially along the lines, there's a lot of opportunity for. There's a lot of questions and a lot of opportunity and a lot of different depth things. So I know this, that they love recruiting the Dakotas. Like they because why wouldn't they? There's a lot of good players there, and they're a developmental type program, right? So you mentioned those guys have been around for a little bit. I don't know specifically like what the plans are there. Like I said, I just went through the depth chart, and I'm actually reading Ryan Burns' stuff, because he's the one that actually
Burnsy's the guy.
Yeah. Give me like 10 days, and I'll have a better idea for you.
That's okay.
Once the game starts, but like, there's a reason those guys are here. You know what I mean? Like, they didn't recruit him to come down here and not play. So I know, especially on the lines, like, everybody's going to have an opportunity.
When you mentioned 8-4 would be, it would be unsatisfactory with this kind of schedule, though. I mean, I know he's going to ask you between now and next Thursday what to predict for the season. What are your reasonable expectations for what could happen in 2025?
Oh, what's interesting is, obviously, you've got Oregon and Ohio State on the road,
right?
Okay, which in a way is kind of a better deal, because you go, all right, take your chances. Like, of course, you want to have them at home, but those are two of the top 5 teams in the country. The home schedule, they have the ability to have a really good home season. In fact, I know you're talking Nebraska after me. That one is going to be an interesting game. It's a Friday night, mid-October. Nebraska, in all honesty, could be undefeated when they come here. If they are as good as, and we always joke the easiest bet in the world is in the much too early preseason top 25 every year, Nebraska is going to be in there, right? Like, they're just going to be in there somewhere. But if and I love Matt Rule, by the way, I think he's a total stud, and if he can't do it in Nebraska, I don't know if anybody can at this point. That game, to me, there's like 3 or 4 of those type of games that's going to determine which way the schedule goes. It's like the Nebraskas, the Michigan States, the Iowas, the Wisconsins. Off the top of my head, I can't remember, who else they have. That would be the Rutgers, but they get a lot of those games at home. So, I mean, if you're really glass full, half full, you could say they could go undefeated at home because they don't have a huge blue blood coming in. But that Nebraska game is going to be interesting, because the Gophers theoretically should maybe at worst have 1 or 2 losses at that point. Like I said, Nebraska, I think, could be undefeated at that point with their schedule up to that point. Yeah. So I kind of said it like, the over under 6.5 most places. I think one place has it 7.5. I think that's about fair. And the recalibration of the new world in the Big Ten, like 8-4 is the new 10-2, honestly. Yeah. Because every year, and I think people are having a tough time adjusting to that, not just here, but everywhere. I don't think you're going to see teams run through undefeated anymore. And when you think about, you're starting most years with, you've already got Ohio State and Oregon, just that. Okay, those are 2 tough games. So you're probably going to stub your toe a couple of other places, even if you have a good team. So I've kind of settled in at like a 7-5, 8-4. And if things really go right for them, 9-3. But that includes a victory at Kinnick, which is a tough place to play, and all of those things. So I don't know. That didn't really answer your question.
Okay.
But I do know that every team now, there aren't any like bad teams because of revenue sharing and NIL. There's very few games that you just go, like last year, Rutgers should have been one of those for the Gophers, right? After they beat USC and UCLA. Let's go to Rutgers. They're terrible. Well, they didn't play well that day and they lost. And then Rutgers went on to a nice little run at the end of the year to make a bowl game. So that's where every game is, they had 7 one-possession games a year ago. I expect the same thing this year.
2 last things for you. The hot topic in high school football around here is Morehead has moved up. You as an Edina guy, do any of the city schools know what's past St. Cloud? Because they have to come up here this upcoming fall.
Football might not. Hockey people know. Hockey people like coming to Fargo Morehead. They like going to Duluth
hockey
and
does,
Hermantown.
yes.
Yeah, hockey knows. Football maybe not as much. I love the Morehead deal. Obviously, the hockey thing was awesome. We probably talked about that. But you know what I love about it, Dom? Like all those kids play lacrosse. A lot of those kids play football.
Yep.
And the Minnesota Star Tribune, that's what we call it now, not the Minneapolis Star Tribune. The Minnesota Star Tribune has written a lot about that.
Yeah.
I've read a lot about that. And as a dad who's trying to shepherd children through the craziness of youth sports. I just jumped ahead 10 years. I love the Spud story that you can do all of it. And by the way, be really, really good. So I definitely am aware of it. Not just because my wife went to Concordia, but I'm aware of it. And I love the fact that they have all those multi-sport athletes because it shows there's a path.
Yep.
You can do it. You can do it. So I'm pulling for the Spuds.
Last thing, email is to ask JG if he got any mayo on him at the Mayo Bowl last year. I don't know this answer, so I have to ask you, how was your experience with that?
Mine was great. I got none. My problem that night was speaking of rookie move, you talked about that before. I didn't anticipate it being like 42 degrees and cold in Charlotte, North Carolina. So I was not dressed properly for a night game. It was very cold. And I've been in like sub-zero games where I felt great. But I didn't think I needed to bring my heated vest to Charlotte. I did. I will say the smell of what happened after PJ got dunked with the mayonnaise, that's what stays with you. Like that's what I think a lot of people, I certainly underestimated, that you can't escape the smell if you're anywhere near the head coach at that point. And I just remember him walking in the tunnel, going back to the locker room, having just wiped off from his bald head all the mayonnaise, and it's all over him. And there's, like, the look on his face was, I need to shower as quickly as I possibly can.
JG, this was awesome, man. I know you're super busy. Thanks so much for doing this. We'll catch up during the season, okay?
Anytime. Good talking with you.
Good to see you, bud. There he goes, Justin Gaard from KFAN Radio down in the Twin Cities. Sideline reporter for Minnesota Golden Gopher football. You'll hear him a week from tomorrow when the Gophers open up with Buffalo. We're over to for a break. We'll get caught up on a couple things here. Sean Callahan from Husker Online going to join us in about 15 minutes. Give us a lowdown on West Fargo's Kate Pedshock playing for the Huskers. Coming up, we come back.